Today, we are going to make some grass. No, I'm not in Colorado, so it's not going to be that kind of grass. It's our techniques that are so simple and sensible, your models will practically build themselves.
Folks, it's Mad Dog Merv, and it is fall here in Utah. And what says fall better than a pumpkin patch? So, we are going to model a pumpkin patch on our layout. Let's get started. So, I'm going to use some coriander seeds, just regular coriander seeds, and Union Pacific orange. You could use the Tamiya, I think it's number 6 orange, that would work too. And there, we're going to set these aside to dry. I might give them another coat later. We'll see how they look once they dry. They might need one, I don't know. See some of them that probably will. But we'll get back to them in just a minute. Well, here we go. Now that they're dry, you can see how they look. And I think those are going to work just fine for pumpkins. So let's get working on the patch. So I've prepared this piece of styrofoam, cut it on an angle. I'm going to have my railroad tracks going right here. So first step is I'm going to take, this is a latex paint. It's kind of a beige color, tan, beige, whatever you want to call it. For me, it works out to be a very good base for my groundwork. It just depends on what part of the country you are really trying to model. I like things out here in the West, and I know there's a lot of grays out here as well, but there's also some nice reds and whatnot. I really like the Southern Utah look, but I'm not exactly doing Southern Utah, if that makes any sense. So anyway, I'll quit rambling and just paint this stuff on here. So need just a little bit more. And this, you could go to like a, I don't know, Habitat for Humanity. There's all sorts of different places that have used paint. There's a place here called the Restore, where they get used or partially used construction items sometimes. There'll be lamps, there'll be light fixtures, there'll be paint, all sorts of really cool stuff that if you're trying to do a remodel of your home on a budget, it's very helpful. But one of the things they have there is these gallons of paint, really cheap too. So I happen to get mine. We have what we call a chemical clean out at work, where they want to get rid of old chemicals that have been around in the buildings, and so they'll take these things out, and instead of sending them to a hazmat disposal place, which would cost the taxpayers a lot of money, I take them, and usually I'll open the lid, let them harden up, and then they can be thrown in the dumpster. And every once in a while, I'll find a really good color like this that's a nice earth tone, and I have a whole gallon of a really nice earth tone. So good for me. All right, so it's on there. That's step number 1. Step number 2 for our little pumpkin patch is we're going to take some PVA. This happens to be Elmer's, but any PVA will do. And remember, this is HO scale, so I don't want my furrows to be really deep. Ah, for the love of Pete. So I'm just going to run a bead along here. This will give me just a little bit of height. There's other ways I could do this. I know I could do it right into my my base there, but this is how I'm choosing to do this. Whoops, that's not good. Okay, my next step is I'm going to take, I call this my Utah mix, and this is a gray and red. It's actually red sand from southern Utah and some gray road grit, and this is unsifted, so there's a lot of larger debris in here. For this particular, it's fine. I don't really care, and I'm just going to put this here on my area that's going to be my furrows. So I've got those little raised areas. Now to simulate the areas where I want dirt, add a little more. Probably not going to put much in the way of vegetation here by the right of way. Just a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit more for Santa Claus. There you go. Okay. Now we can let this dry, which would be the best way to go. Then we'll come back. We'll put static grass on, and we'll finish up putting our pumpkins in. So we're pretty much dry with the initial groundwork. A little bit damp over here. It's going to be just fine. So I'm going to take some of the static tack from Woodland Scenics, and we're going to put that in these areas where we want the static grass to go. Probably gonna use a brush to get it into the areas where we want it. Not putting too much on, just a little bit. Actually, it's not in my opinion, it's not a little bit, but anyway, it'll be fine. This is very runny, just so you know. The static tack glue. Okay. And yeah, we're gonna put some down here on this slope, heading towards the right of way. Even though I've already got some dirt down here, it'd be fine. There we go. Okay. Now, we are going to use the Woodland Scenics static grass, although I keep it in a whole different container. Just it's much more convenient for me this way. And we're going to use my homemade static grass applicator, because I'm cheap, remember? And what we need to keep in mind, this end is going to go right here into the glue, and this goes over, and we'll push the button and put our static grass down. That smells like cumin because I guess I didn't clean out the container good enough. It was a cumin container. Oh yeah, this stuff is staticky as all get out. Really nice. I hold it about half an inch to a quarter of an inch if I can. And this this is the 2 to 4 millimeter static grass, and it's standing straight up. I'm carrying it all over the place. You can't really see it, but yeah, it's really cool how this stuff works. I'm actually dragging it here to different areas. Okay, we're gonna unplug that from there. Plug it in over here. Okay. Kind of all over the place. It's fine. It'll be fine. Now what I'm going to do is take some of this, which is, I think it's the 7 millimeter green static grass, and I'm going to use it mostly down here in the slope. Plug it in, dummy. Hey, that ought to work really good now. Oh boy. Tell you, sometimes I'm just not the brightest bulb in the pack. Make sure, yeah, it's staticking really good. Doing what it's supposed to. It's kind of funny the way it works. I can actually locate it, relocate it from one spot to another, just by the static, just by it picking itself up from there. We're going to go back to some of the smaller grass here, and just a little bit in here. Okay, hang on. I am going to give you a different camera angle. Just hang on here just a second. Let's see if we can do this without goofing everything up now. Watch this stuff. Yeah, see how it's working. Yeah, it's doing its magic. It's standing up. You can see that. Pretty neat, huh? All right, so now that you got to see how the static grass works, here's another piece of magic. So there's a thing called wet water, which is H2O and either a little bit of dish soap or H2O and a little bit of isopropyl alcohol. But what I'm going to use, this is my just straight 99% isopropyl alcohol. Yeah, I got the good industrial stuff. And I'm going to spray it here on my dirt area of my pumpkin patch. Now, I am going to take some of my static tack, and I'm going to put kind of a little line here where I built my my furrows in my patch. And you'll see why here in a minute. Now that's going to soak in because I primed it with the isopropyl alcohol. Now we're going to take our pumpkins. Oh, pumpkin! And the one thing I do have to make sure is they're not all clumped up, because I painted them, remember? And the problem with painting them is sometimes they kind of clump up. So I'm going to take my little pumpkins. Oh, pumpkin. I don't want to get too many in one spot, like there. A couple of places I got a little too many, so I'm going to take my tweezers, come back, and so these that are kind of errantly not on any glue, I'm going to take off, and then I'm just going to move some of these around. If there's a group of, like there's a group of 3 together, we're going to get those moved. I'm going to spread these out just a little bit, and you'll see the method to this madness here in a moment. Relocate that. I want to be happy with how it looks. You two can stay together, I guess. Put that one there. See, I got way too many over here. So the ones that aren't in the glue, I'm going to take these out because they'll just fall off anyway. I want to put just a single one back there. Yeah, I want it to look like a pumpkin patch, not like it kind of went everywhere. I just want it to look right. If that makes any sense. Okay. Nice thing about these seeds is they are there's some that are a little bit smaller, some that are a little bit bigger. That's very nice when it comes to a pumpkin patch. Now, the last thing I'm going to do here, I am going to take some of the turf, and this is the fine turf mixture that I make, and this is in a really bright green. I guess this isn't my real bright green. This is more of a early spring color. And I'm going to take some of this and I'm going to sprinkle it here where the pumpkins are, to simulate the vine, because a vine in this scale would be very small. I am not going to get out wire and actually make a vine. No. But I do want there to be, because there's a lot of little green leaves. And in scale, actually, this fine sawdust works really good to simulate those leaves. Okay, last thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to carefully put a little down pressure on the pumpkins. To help set them into the glue. Okay. Now I happen to have this this nice fall colored tree that I put together not too long ago. And we are going to plant that right there. Oop. And let that dry in the groundwork. There we go. And we'll be back to see the finished product in a few minutes.